Hey guys, I'm Grestar, and how about we watch a death battle, Tracer versus Scout. So of course, make sure to click here to go to the official release first. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and then come back here and we'll watch it together. Now guys, I'm like really nervous-sided for this one. This is actually the most invested I have ever been in a death battle episode. The most invested. Even more than Gara versus Toph, because if you remember when that was actually revealed, I did like a little squeal thing because I was excited, because every time someone asked me like, which death battle do you want to see, Riz? My only answer was Gara versus Toph, because it was originally one that my younger brother had proposed to me, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and then I drew a picture of it and that kind of stuff, and so it was just in my mind, like those were two characters I actually knew, not super well, but that I actually knew of, you know, that kind of thing. And so, you know, that was just kind of a big moment for me. But now this one, Tracer versus Scout, are two characters, like those are both characters that I feel like I really know. By the way, I'm a little sick. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold, so I apologize if I sound a little bit weird. But yeah, the most invested I've been, to the point where I made a discussion video about this death battle. If you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and click my face. The annotation will be there for a few seconds if you'd like to watch that. It's longer than the actual death battle itself, so if you're interested, go for it. And actually, before I watch this death battle, I want to clarify some of the things that I said or did not say in that video. So if you haven't seen the video, like my discussion video, you're gonna be missing out a little bit, but that's okay. So yes, I want to clarify really quick, first of all, why I thought that the Scout should only really be considered to have his stock weapons, to, you know, the three weapons, his scattergun, his pistol, and just the normal, you know, like aluminum baseball bat. And the reason behind that was, like, I feel that Death Battle, you know, the researchers behind Death Battle should consider all of his weapons. I think that all of his weapons should be taken into account. I just don't think that they should all be taken into account at once, because there is no preparation time, and because I think it would be silly to, like, you know, first, he doesn't in the games or whatever carry all of his weapons on him, and I doubt he would in the comics, you know, like, I would need to see where, like, in the comics, you know, so therefore canon information, the Scout carrying around multiple weapons casually, like, not expecting a fight. Because the thing with Death Battle is, again, you can't prepare, and another significant thing that I considered was that Death Battle is about who would win the majority of the time. And so while I could easily come up with scenarios in which the Scout with certain individual weapons could take on Tracer, does that mean the majority of the time? No. So why I think they should focus on the three stock weapons, which I heard they did not. That's like the only thing that I've heard about this death battle. I heard they did not focus on just the three stock weapons. But the reason that I thought that they should was because you know, if they decided to focus on other weapons instead and say Scout won, well, it's like, yeah, sure, he won with that combination, but now you have to prove to me that he would win with, like, you know, the majority of the time with other combinations. Not every time, obviously, but the majority of the time. And you know, obviously they're not gonna make a video or dedicate the time to prove to just me or whoever else was curious that he would indeed win the majority of the time. So I thought that if he, you know, if they just stuck him with the stock weapons and then he won, then they could explain, like, given his arsenal, which they could touch on, but, you know, everything, you know, then they could reason it out. But, you know, I felt like if they actually started off with those unique, you know, specialized weapons, that it would just be a little bit obscure, you know, the reason behind his win or even his loss would be a little bit put to question. So that was my basic reasoning. By the way, when I say that it's death battles about who would win the majority of the time, I am largely pulling from Pokemon Battle Royale, where they pretty much explicitly state it. And even though they don't state that with the other death battles that I'm aware of, I believe that that's kind of just one of the things that is, you know, it's true. I just think that it's true. Because with any matchup, you could say, well, what if this particular thing were to happen? Yeah, what if? But that's not the case the majority of the time. So the fact that they have to win the majority of the time is another reason why I don't think the Scout should have all of his weapons at once, like on his person, or be able to even use them all in a single battle. And that's because, like, there are only a couple ways for the Scout to actually, like, change his weapons, and they involve, like, going back to the spawn. Like, it's either dying or running back to the spawn. I feel like I mentioned a second thing that was, like, a little more distinct in my video, but it's not coming to mind right now. One that I did not mention was the fact that, yes, you can pick up weapons off of the ground, off of corpses, but the only weapons that the Scout could pick up that were not from another Scout, and I think it would be weird if you found a lot of Scout corpses during a Scout versus someone death battle, that just seems kind of ominous for Scout, would be, like, you know, the pistol that the engineer could drop, and then some of the melee weapons that he might have in common with other people that really are just, as far as I can think right now, are just reskins of the basic bat anyway. So unless he came across corpses of multiple Scouts, the only weapons that he would pick up are the stock weapons anyway. Again, unless I'm missing something, which is possible. Another thing I wanted to clarify is that Well, it seemed after reading a lot of the comments on my discussion video, a lot of the responses and the arguments and everything, was that basically people just pulled different information from the same material that I did, because I did watch like all of the official TF2, media, like the animations that they had, the shorts and everything. Like the Meet the videos and all that. So in Meet the Medic, for instance, a lot of people were referencing this, about the fact that the scout survived like 5 of the soldiers' rockets, where he was just slammed against the glass and was like, "You're a medic," that whole thing. Yeah, to me, that wasn't a feat of his like durability or anything. That was comedic exaggeration. That's what it, and that's fine. That's not saying that it's bad or that TF2 is worse than Overwatch. I am not at all saying that with anything that I'm saying here. And I want to point that out because a lot of people apparently have this big feud between TF2 and Overwatch. They're both fun games. Anyway, I feel like that was just comedic exaggeration, because then you look and like Meet the Demo Man, and the scout hardly survives against a sentry gun. Like, he comes from spawn, he runs up the hill with the Demo Man, and he dies really quickly to a sentry. And keep in mind that that was the red scout as well. Other people pointed out like, oh, it's always the blue scout who's dying, and the red one is the focus, like he's the main scout. In Meet the Demo Man, it was the red scout who died. I think that was the only time it was the red scout who actually was like, punished or injured really significantly in that way, but still, I think it's worth saying if people are going to counter with that's not the original. Yes, it is. But that's the thing, like when there is the thing to consider of comedic exaggeration, which again is not a bad thing, it's just an element of storytelling in that kind of universe that TF2 has, set itself up to be. It's not a bad thing, but I feel like you can't take everything at face value, Especially when you do have kind of contradictory things, like the fact that he seemingly tanked, well, he didn't, he was very injured, but the 5 rockets from the soldier, and then he just really quickly died to a sentry gun, So I felt like there was more, honestly, that's not coming to mind right now, but something that is coming to mind, one more thing that I wanted to clarify, is that I was never trying to make Tracer win, I like both of the characters. I was trying to take the information that I had about the 2 characters and come up with this, like, who would win, I was honestly trying to determine who would win by looking at everything, and, I tried genuinely, without bias, to look at the scout and see, like, could he actually win this? Because at first, when I was thinking that it was possible Tracer was going up against the scout, I was like, well, they wouldn't do that because Tracer would win. That would be obvious. But then so many people were divided. So many people were saying it was obvious that the scout would win. So I did try to really think about it. But the conclusion that I reached was just that Tracer would win. So I wasn't trying to make Tracer win in my mind. I was trying to reason it out, and it just ended up with Tracer winning. However, that doesn't mean that she won this death battle. A lot of you probably know the results, but I still don't. But I did want to point that out because a lot of people were saying that I was like, shooting Scout in the foot, that I was trying to, like really bolster Tracer up. And no, that wasn't the intention. I gave my reasonings for why I thought the Scout should be limited to a few weapons at a time, because if it isn't shown in canon that he does that normally, just casually, since he can't prepare in death battle, since he can't like plan for your opponent, or a fight even, I would say, then I don't think it would be right for him to, like break his canon and just have all of his weapons. I also think that it would be silly for him to be able to pick up, like all of his weapons during the course of a battle, because if you are gonna say, yeah, he can pick up some weapons if there are fallen scouts, okay, sure. Are there really going to be like a bunch of dead corpses, dead, of course, scouts in that area every time he were to fight Tracer? And I say every time because, again, death battle's about who would win the majority of the time. Not only are there going to be dead scouts, but are the dead scouts going to have other weapons, And then again, with, looking at the animations and trying to take feats and everything from there, it wasn't that I was trying to dismiss Scout's more powerful feats, like the rockets during Meet the Medic. It was that I took that to be comedic exaggeration rather than any sort of actual feat of durability, so I just had to dismiss that. And that was, again, where, like, I would look at something and take this out of it, and someone else would look at something and take this out of it, and neither of us are necessarily wrong. We just looked at different aspects, we thought about it in a different way. And the reason that I focus so much on the gameplay mechanics is because that's really all that I have, like, solid about both of the characters. Because, Overwatch is such a new game, not a lot of, like, content that isn't gameplay has come out. And I never read the comics for TF2, so I didn't have that, to be a knowledge source. And so I looked at all of the shorts that I could, and I tried to analyze the gameplay mechanics as well I could. While excluding some things, like I excluded the Scout's home run taunt that he can use with the Sandman and the Atomizer, because I don't think that is actually a feat of his. I feel like that's more what a lot of people complain about with like Cammy versus Sonya during, the Mortal Kombat game of breaking the anvil, how anyone could do that as long as you're strong enough. And granted, the home run taunt isn't a minigame, like only the Scout can do that, but I feel like that's not actually supposed to be like a show of how strong the Scout is. That's just supposed to be a funny kind of thing, you know, a taunt kill, because TF2 is a funny game. And funny does not mean bad. Like, the serious tones of Overwatch does not make, you know, the more comedic tones of TF2, like, worse. Neither one is necessarily better than the other. It all depends on personal preference. But that is why I dismiss some things. It's like, you know, if you look at SpongeBob SquarePants, there are a lot of inconsistencies in that, and sometimes he'll be super strong, sometimes he'll be super weak. It's for comedic effect, and you can't really take, you know, any single part of it as truth. So that was my reasoning behind, you know, the stuff I talked about in that discussion video. So at this point, do I want Tracer to win? Yes, because I think that she would. But I think the biggest turning point for me would have to be what's hidden within the TF2 comics, because again, that's one of the sources of knowledge that I just have not looked into, and I acknowledge that, you know. I am aware of my ignorance, and I am letting you guys know that right now. But, you know, not knowing about it, I couldn't talk about it, you know. Who knows what's going on in there? So I did the best I could with what I had available to me, or at least what I was, like, you know, willing to look out, because I'm sure that I could have found the TF2 comics if I really looked, but I wasn't even sure that there was a lot of Scout material, so I just didn't. But I'm trusting the Death Battle people to do so I am looking forward to watching this Death Battle. I'm just also, like, again, really nervous-sided about it, so yeah. Alright, let's get to watching. And play. Here we go, guys! Death Battle, Tracer versus Scout. Let's do this.
To be the elite, you must surround yourself with the best of the best.
Yeah.
Whether you band together to save the world, or just a worthless plot of land.
And every good team needs a good hit and runner.
Like Tracer, the spunky agent of Overwatch.
But, you know, their animations are super pretty. Like, I love the TF2 animations, too. They're just very different stylistically.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
That's right. Here we go. You can just
30 years from the present, mankind would become careless. Their machine servants rose up to fight for freedom, and so began a worldwide war.
Yep.
But one organization stood between world peace and total chaos. Overwatch, a team consisting of the world's greatest scientists, cyborgs, ninjas, cowboys, and pilots.
Including Lena Oxton, codenamed Tracer. The youngest pilot ever inducted into Overwatch's flight program, Tracer is a free-spirited and fearless flying ace, always laughing in the face of danger.
After helping to secure world peace, no big deal, right? She was chosen to test a new prototype fighter jet, which could teleport.
But then everything went horribly wrong. Instead of teleporting from point A to B, the fighter jet accidentally transported her through time.
That's an
How
issue.
do you accidentally create a time machine and put it in a fighter jet?
A word to the wise, this is why you use animals before moving to human trials, like I always do. Anyway,
Right.
Tracer essentially existed as a ghost, uncontrollably phasing in and out of time. It looked like Overwatch's prized pilot would be decommissioned forever.
Until her teammate, good friend, and gorilla scientist Winston made a special
He was on the
techno-doohickey to
moon.
keep her locked in the present.
This chronal accelerator doesn't just anchor Tracer's time displacement.
I'll try to remember to
it
talk
also
about her
gives
chronal
two
accelerator too,
different
because that's
ways to
something else I didn't
manipulate
talk about in the
her own
discussion.
Time flow. In a near instant, she can zoom approximately 23 feet away. This blink ability is not true teleportation, but instead speeds up time only for Tracer while propelling her in any given direction.
What?
She can briefly jump herself forward in time, though from an outside view it looks like a blur.
Got it.
More than that, she can also reverse time for herself with the recall ability, which returns Tracer's health and spatial position back to where they were a few seconds before. While usually recall only turns back 3 seconds, in some instances she's gone as far back as 15.
Well, thank God her weapons aren't as confusing as that shit. She carries dual rapid-fire pulse pistols as her primary pain dispensers. Each can empty 20 rounds in a single second.
But what the pulse pistols have in power, they sorely lack in range and accuracy.
Yeah.
Good thing she also has her pulse bombs. I'll put it this way.
Well, that
pretty
makes
much
even more in
anybody she
range.
sticks this thing to has exactly 2 seconds to make their peace before going to the big capture point in the sky.
Unless you're like
Tracer
Roadhog.
maximizes her unique weaponry with hit-and-run tactics, frustrating her enemies and making her very difficult to pin down.
Yeah, in addition to blinking and recalling all over the place, she can jump 15 feet in the air.
She's disarmed the highly trained and literally cold-blooded assassin, Widowmaker, protected the Doomfist Gauntlet from theft, and even once avoided a sniper shot from just 30 feet away. A sniper round usually travels almost 1,800 miles per hour when fired, meaning Tracer had to react within 1/100th of a second.
Unfortunately, that bullet found another target.
Yeah. Mondada.
Rest in peace, Robot Gandhi.
Although Tracer is a slippery opponent on the battlefield, her chronal accelerator has its limits. If used too many times in succession, it can overheat, forcing Tracer to wait for a recharge. As her pistols are linked to the accelerator, this can sometimes cause them to overload as well.
Plus, she's a pilot first, and
So that's
not
how they're
exactly
interpreting
a
that
crack
then,
shot
okay.
while on foot. If she doesn't get in close, she's not hitting anything but air.
In spite of that, Tracer doesn't let any of it get her down. Wherever there's danger, she'll be there in a blink of an eye with a cocky smile and a barrage of bullets.
Wait, whatever happened to that time-warping fighter jet?
I don't know.
They never found it, I don't think.
Don't worry, loves. Cavalry's here.
That felt like that was really fast. That wasn't a joke. I
In
think that's
the
just
year
because they don't have a lot of Overwatch
1850,
material.
An extremely wealthy entrepreneur passed away, leaving his family land and business to his 2 sons.
Yep.
But like brothers are prone to do, they ended up fighting over each other's land right off the bat.
This went on for decades, and then the brothers began recruiting mercenaries to literally wage war. And that's when things really got out of control.
Each hired gun contributed with their own specialized expertise.
That's right, they
The sniper
did.
killed from afar, the engineer slaughtered with machines, and the heavy mowed people down with the biggest goddamn gun they'd ever seen. What kind of sandwiches were they feeding that guy?
But when
Actually,
every
you
man
could look
only
into that.
relied on his cunning, his 2 feet, and a baseball bat. This was the Scout. Born in Boston, Massachusetts in the 1950s, the mercenary only known as Scout was the runt among 7 older brothers.
And all of them loved to wander the town looking for a good fight.
That's in the
Problem was,
MVM,
Scout's
like,
brothers were
promotional
so big
trailer.
and tough, the fights would be over before he could get the chance to throw his own punches.
Desperate to fight alongside his siblings, Scout realized that what he lacked in strength, he could make up for in speed.
Had to get there
So
first.
he started running, and running, and running until one day he was fast enough to not only keep up, but get ahead.
Speed was his moniker, delivering pain was his game, and somewhere along the way he even learned how to jump off of thin air.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the pathetic runt of the pack became the smart-mouthed terror of Boston.
Grass grows, birds fly, sun shines, and brother, I hurt people.
The only thing he was lacking was discipline, which he could get in the military, but that didn't sound like any fun, so he became a mercenary instead. Scout travels light, relying on a lovely shotgun and a baseball bat. Yes,
Winger
a
pistol.
baseball bat. This guy is crazy enough to try and take out a rocket launcher wielding soldier with a pop fly.
Which surprisingly works. Opponents are stunned by the size of his balls, both literally and figuratively, leaving them
Fair
open
enough.
for Scout to race up and finish them off with his guns.
Well, he's got a pistol for pinpoint accuracy. Scout's favorite tools for killing are definitely shotguns. The scattergun is a confusing miracle of shotgun engineering that can somehow hold 6 shots in a double barrel and is reloaded via divine intervention when you pull its lever. It's like the baby of a shotgun rifle and a revolver. But his most powerful gun is the Force of Nature, a shotgun that only has 2 shots, but kicks so hard it can boost him even higher into the air.
Regardless, a well-placed shot can quickly take down almost any other mercenary. To make the Force of Nature even more ridiculous, he can strap a can of energy drink called Bonk Atomic Punch to it, which somehow gives him 5 more mid-air jumps.
That's right, this guy flies with
Oh,
shotguns.
okay.
But that's not all the soda has to offer.
I thought it
With
was the
just a sip
Criticola
of
that
Bonk,
was
Scout
attached to
becomes
the
totally
soda
invincible
popper.
for 8 seconds. But he can't use any of his guns at that time.
Probably due to the shakes. Bonk contains several hundred times the daily recommended sugar intake.
Yep.
An adult male's suggested daily dosage is 25 grams, meaning Bonk contains, at minimum, 11 pounds of sugar.
That's a lot of
so
sugar.
much sugar he can't take another drink for at least 20 seconds. And on top of that, it's
Full of
radioactive.
radiation.
You gotta have one tough body to handle that stuff. Tough enough to survive the onslaught of 3 rockets at once, or to swing a baseball bat hard enough to send
So
a
they
guy
are counting.
flying
They're
80
counting
feet
both
away.
of those?
Possibly due to long-term Bonk exposure, but testing is still out.
Scout can defeat foes as strong as the heavy in close quarters combat, run 17 miles an hour for long periods of time, and even kill a bear with nothing but a hot dog suit and Amelia Earhart skeleton.
Huh.
I'm serious.
He has a
Weird.
knack for avoiding bullets, missiles, and even tentacles from a bread monster, but at the cost of wearing little to no armor.
That sword is so
making
great,
him a
though.
glass cannon. And
Expiration
true to his
date.
reckless, unrestrained personality, Scout often runs headfirst into battle, regardless of the risk.
But if you want to take down the Scout, you're gonna have to catch him before he catches you. And that means you too, ladies.
That's right, Fancy Pants, myself. So why don't you take your little failure, roll it up sideways.
Expiration date again.
Okay, crap, I gotta go.
If you haven't seen that, go watch that. It's so funny.
All right,
love
the
Pauline,
bets
too.
are set. Let's end this debate once and for all.
Okay.
But first, I'm feeling pretty hungry.
Commercial!
If only there was some sort of amazing service that sent a box full of food and recipes straight to my door.
Uh-huh.
Oh, hey!
Yeah, I slapped my bum.
You know how it is. Researching characters and making them fight to the death is time-consuming. I don't have time to go to the store and make my own meals, but I also don't want to doom my existence to fast food sugar addiction. Thankfully, Blue Apron changed all of that. For less than $10 a meal, Blue Apron sends me seasonal recipes with pre-portioned ingredients to make
Wow.
delicious home-cooked meals.
That's great.
Each meal comes with an easy step-by-step recipe which can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. This chicken stir-fry only took about 20. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free, with free shipping, by going to blueapron.com/battle. See for yourself how good it feels and tastes to create impeccable home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. That's
You can do that, guys.
blueapron.com/battle.
But right
/battle.
now, it's
Time no more. And pause. Right. Let's talk about this. I think that Scout's gonna win this one. And given the parameters that they've set up, with my own stuff in my, like, based upon what I saw here, it didn't show much from the comics that would really make me change my initial opinion that Tracer would beat the Scout. However, with how many things they are taking into account that I dismissed as being comedic or otherwise just kind of gimmicky for the sake of game, you know, like the home run taunt, they're counting that. They're actually looking into, like, how much, you know, sugar and radiation he can survive. They're actually looking at him surviving the 3 rockets. I thought it was 5 for some reason. Maybe I was thinking about what hurt him before. But the rockets that hit him during Meet the Medic, you know, they're counting all of that stuff for him. Not only that, but they're also it looks like they're giving him multiple weapons, because, you know, they're specifically looking at multiple weapons, not just multiple weapons, but like of the same sort. So like he had the scatter gun, the soda popper, and the force of nature. And then he also had bonk. I don't think they counted criticola, though I'm pretty sure it's the criticola, not the bonk that's on soda popper. That's what it looks like based upon the color, but maybe if you're in the crafting, it is bonk. Anyway, I don't really think they actually looked at different okay, they looked at his bat and then his Sandman, I'm pretty sure. They also counted him taking on the heavy one-on-one, which I also dismissed as an exaggeration, given that it was Meet the Scout, and that's just what they seem to do. Because again, I was thinking more about game mechanics, and I was like, Demo Man can't have that many stickies, or Engineer can't have that many sentry guns, you know, that kind of thing. So honestly, yeah, with everything that they have decided to use that I don't think should be used, I do think that Scout is going to win this one, which, you know, admittedly makes me kind of sad. I do like both of the characters. I honestly do. They're both great. And you saw me react to Expiration Date. That is such a funny thing, and the Scout plays such a key role in that, where you should all go look into it. But, I don't know, I was just, like I said, this was the death battle I got most invested in, and I was just so sure that Tracer would win, but now I'm thinking Scout would win. If Tracer wins, great, like, I will be happy, but, I mean, and not that I'm gonna be, like, sad if Scout wins, but I think that's how it's gonna go now. So, there you have my new prediction. Play. Pause. Okay, hi. I wanted to bring up real quick the Chronal Accelerator, because I just remembered I said I was going to talk about that. Why I did not talk about that in my discussion video was because I didn't think that we had seen anywhere where, like, what would actually happen if it were damaged, and if it were broken, I think that she would be just kind of, like, lost in space and time again, which I would not count as a death, you know. I think that would be, grounds for a draw more than anything, thinking right now. I mean, I just don't think it would be a win for Scout, you know, if he were to break it and she was just lost in time, because she's not dead, and another Chronal Accelerator could bring her right back. And it's not like Winston said he could make another one faster now that he's done it before, I'm sure. So I didn't bring it up for, that reason, where we don't know what happens if it's damaged, but based upon their analyses, they're gonna say that if it's damaged, she can't use her abilities, and because I also knew that her pulse pistols are powered by her chronal accelerator, if they're going by that, then she wouldn't be able to fire either, and she only has, like, her pistol whip, her quick melee, and, her pulse bomb, aside from her pistols. So, yeah, that's another thing. Alright, so, play! Gotta love parkour. Pretty sure it was a lazy vault speed vault. Get some mixed up sometimes,
Alright, asshole! You're toast! Whoa!
Hey there, hot stuff.
Hello.
Got a bucket of chicken.
If I told you you had a great bod, would you hold it against me?
Aha.
That's nice. I was just leaving.
Oh, sure thing. Come back anytime. Just put that briefcase back before you go. Thanks.
Sorry, love. Overwatch needs this more than you do.
Just explain the situation. You're both good people. I think for Pauline, he wouldn't let her take.
Yo, Putz, how you doing that?
That is really cool.
Oh, that's just great.
Well, there goes her pulse bomb. Like her most powerful
This
weapon.
stuff will liquefy your esophagus after just one can. But, it's also very handy when you feel like not getting blown up.
That's not very fair.
Listen, sweetheart. I never play fair.
It's like, why is she flipping at that point, though? Oh, her pulse building up again. It's cool they included that. Uh-oh.
Ah, bollocks.
Hey, he can't attack while under the effects of bonk. You can't attack while under the effects of bonk, Scout. She survived that?
All right, doll. Fun's over.
Not yet, mate. The cavalry's here.
Well, there's a recall. Glad that recharged in time.
Shit!
Is he gonna be stuck?
Not this time, Yankee!
Oh, come on, give me a...
Alright!
Well, that was fun.
So recall saved the day. Okay, cool.
And he's out!
Scout was fast and tough, but Tracer's unique arsenal and evasiveness pulled her ahead.
Scout's greatest feat was potentially surviving an assault from 3 rockets at once. However, the rocket's point of impact is never directly shown, and since direct hits from rockets regularly obliterate far tougher mercs, it's unreasonable to assume this was any different.
Scout could sprint up to 17 miles an hour for an extended period of time, which is slightly faster than the average human's 15 miles per hour. But Tracer's natural reactive instinct gave her the edge. For example, avoiding that sniper round from 30 feet away means she can react 25 times faster than the vast majority of other human beings.
Oh.
Which means Tracer could avoid almost anything Scout threw at her. Even when she couldn't, her recall ability not only helped her survive, but effectively ruined any of Scout's elements of surprise.
This allowed Tracer plenty of opportunities to take him out.
And just like that, Scout was gone without a trace.
The winner
Haha,
is
I get it.
Tracer.
Yay, claps for Tracer. Next time on Death Battle.
Time on Death Battle.
Ah, it's Ken. Cool. It's one of the only
Hey guys,
two I
thanks
know
for
by
watching
name.
another
pretty
episode
much.
of Death Battle. I'm Ben. I'm the showrunner, and
No
I
problem.
play Wiz.
And I'm Nick, and I wrote this episode.
You're not Chad.
And next time we've got Ken from Street Fighter, but who's he gonna be fighting? You can find out by sticking to our social media. That's @ScrewAttack on Twitter and official SA on Facebook. We'll be
Yeah,
letting you know
you can
his
do that
opponent
stuff.
very soon.
That's right, and if you want to see that episode of Death Battle early or want to see some other Rooster Teeth content before other people get to, you can become a first member by clicking the link in the description below.
And of course, if you've got an idea for a death battle, let us know in the comments below.
All right,
Read it.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Guys can do that. And then the video will end. All right, let's talk about this. So, I want to clear up, I don't think that they should have ever said that, like, the home run taunt was a thing. I don't think that they should have, because from my limited knowledge of, you know, human durability and physiology and stuff like that, is that I think that if someone hits you with a baseball bat hard enough to make you fly like that, I think you would be dead I just think you would be dead, you know? Like, I don't think she would have time to recall. I think she would be dead. I don't know, maybe it would really be a matter of, like, severe internal bleeding and that kind of stuff, and then you would die, like, within, you know, minutes or something. But that just, it doesn't seem realistic to me that you would be hit with a home run taunt and then survive. It was a good way to show off her recall ability because, you know, she could go back in time and then was just brand new and all that. But weird that she survived it. And I never thought that it should have been accepted in the first place into, like, the canon of Scout's feats. You know, I never thought that it should have been like, this is how strong he is. He can bat someone over there. That's not a thing. That shouldn't be a thing. So I find it weird that they included it. I just do. Maybe I'm wrong. Would that not kill someone? It seems like it really would to me. Anyway, yes, I am happy that Tracer won. Just surprised on a number of levels because, you know, while I again wasn't trying to make Tracer win during my discussion video, you know, and I only omitted things from the Scout for, you know, reasons that I've already told, like that I thought they were comedic exaggeration rather than actually showing feats, that I thought logically it wouldn't make sense, that it wouldn't make sense within the rules of Death Battle, that sort of thing. That's why I removed certain abilities or weapons that the Scout had. But then they didn't get rid of those. Like, they included pretty much all of the things I talked about, maybe even all of the things, you know? And then they still have Tracer win, so I'm happy for it, but I'm just surprised because I thought that if, you know, all of those unfair things were given to the Scout, that he would have it. I just thought he would, you know? So I don't think there's a ton else that I could say about, like, the victor and what I think was wrong or what I think was right. You know, most of it was in my discussion video, and I don't want to take another half hour to explain it here, so if you're really interested in my thoughts about this before having seen anything about this death battle, you know, go watch that again. The annotation will be on my face for a few seconds at least, so yeah, if you want to, go check it out. But then, yeah, I've pretty much already talked, like, I talked about why I dismiss certain things, why I think some things still should have been omitted. You know, I still stand by my own logic, and especially with the home run taunt, you know, that kind of thing. But I admit, yeah, I am very surprised that with all of that, Tracer survived. I guess this is where it gets difficult for me, because I'm thinking now of all the different possibilities of the Scout's weapons, because he was shown to have... Wait, in this death battle, he wasn't even shown to have multiple weapons. He really just he had the bong and pistol. Those were the only two that I can think of that were within the same, like, family, you know, like the same, they're both secondary weapons. Aside from that, he had his bat when he was bonged, like his aluminum bat, and then he had the Sandman. No, he didn't even use the Sandman to do the taunt. He just did the taunt inherently with the aluminum bat. They didn't show the Force of Nature in the animation, they just showed the scattergun, but they definitely were considering other weapons because we did get to see, you know, details on scattergun, on the winger, on the Force of Nature, you know, on that kind of stuff. And so thinking about that, if they're going to allow him to have multiple weapons at a time, or at least kind of combine weapons, like fuse their characteristics, their capabilities and stuff, their qualities, I don't know, it's weird. It was weird at first to think that, like, oh, you mean, so the majority of the time, with all of that, he still couldn't beat Tracer. But I guess that, you know, thinking about the feat of Tracer's, where she was able to react in time to actually, like, avoid the sniper bullet. You know, with recall granted, but she very well potentially could have done it with a blink too. I imagine, you know, either way she's getting out of it, but you know, with the recall she could actually make sure she's back on the rooftop instead of in the air. It was, I guess that just makes sense of like, yeah, she could avoid the ball from the Sandman, she could avoid the cleaver afterward and that kind of thing. And then just, you know, other bullets in general. So, it's interesting, like, I keep going just round in circles kind of in my head, like, oh, but then couldn't the scout do this? No, because based upon this, then that. You know? I am happy with how this death battle turned out. I suppose it's just difficult for me, again, given how invested I was, that I did come to such conclusions as if Scout were given this, and this, and this, and this, you know, just these other things, then this conclusion would be reached. Otherwise, naturally, this one. But then, even when they gave Scout all of those things, they, you know, Tracer won. It's weird for me. It's hard to explain. And I'm sorry that I'm rambling, like I'm focusing on this point so long, but that's the biggest thing for me, where it's just like a lot of thought went into this. Aside from the home run thing, because I think that would have killed someone. But yeah, so at this point I'm gonna stop talking about, you know, the victor, the who's and the whys and the what's and stuff like that, and just talk about the surrounding things. So the animation itself, I thought was I really enjoyed it. You know, I thought that it was, you know, just like really well done animation-wise. And it was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. It showcased some of the really cool things that the two were able to do. And they even said that Scout could attack while bonked. Which, if he could, he should have done that a lot earlier before bonk faded off anymore. But, you know, I thought he was just, honestly, I thought he was just talking to her while bonked so he could let it wear off and then, like, recover, you know, so that he could start fighting again. But no, he could attack the whole time. Yeah. I thought it was really funny then, not just, like, the animation in terms of technique, but what was included in the animation, again, you know, the really cool flashy, you know, like moves and everything, the choreography basically. But the voice acting was fun too. Like, was it perfect? No, it wasn't, but it was still identifiable as the two characters. And like the script, I did think that they were things that the two, you know, might very well say, like Scout first coming out and then being attracted to Tracer. Yes, that was great. That was so funny, because it was just, yeah, it was the Scout to me, you know, putting aside feelings for Pauline. So I really did enjoy it. And what was kind of funny to me too was how it started seeing, you know, Tracer's butt, and then you get like the whole Overwatch controversy of one of her emotes, no, her victory poses was like, you know, she was turned around and so was her butt, and everyone's like, she wouldn't do that, it's not in her personality. Yeah, sure, why not? Like, people can stand that way. I didn't take it as a sexual thing so much as like a quirky, cocky kind of thing, which is Tracer. Like, if she wants to stand with her butt facing me, why can't she? So just all in all, you know, from the animation, like how it looked to how it flowed, to, you know, like what was said within it, again, you know, with the voice acting and just the dialogue in general, I did think they did a good job with it. So I had a good time. I was enjoying myself despite the tension. The tension being, of course, you know, as I've already said, really invested. So knowing that, you know, like not knowing who was gonna win, you know, thinking Tracer and then thinking Scout after everything was revealed, and then at one point I'm like, oh, Tracer, you know, like, especially when she threw out her pulse bomb so soon, but then she actually built it back, which was cool. Again, how they showed like the charging meter, and that gave us an idea of how it was actually working. But now I have to wonder, if you shoot at a Zenyatta, do you actually charge your meter? Because like, when the Scout is bonked in the game and you shoot him, it actually says like missed at the top, like he's dodging every bullet. And usually, I mean, not usually, like in Overwatch, if you're missing your shots, that's not gonna help you charge. No, like as Tracer, you charge just over time, very gradually. I mean, pretty quickly, but you know, pretty quickly compared to other characters, or by doing damage. And so if you're not actually hitting the Scout, you're not actually doing any damage. I don't know how it would work against Zenyatta, but that's the closest thing I can think of, where he's invincible, but you're still actually hitting him, I guess. So that might be a bit of a flaw in the animation, I suppose. So there's like, the attacking while bonked is kind of a flaw, the recharging while he's bonked is kind of a flaw. I think surviving a home run hit, you know, and actually flying like that is kind of a flaw. You know, not even that, but then her landing, I guess you could consider the fact that if she can jump 15 feet, she can land like farther than most people, but still. So aside from those things, nothing else is jumping to mind right now. So this death battle really surprised me in a number of ways, you know, first with what they allowed and then what the result was anyway in the end. And I did really enjoy it. This is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes, largely because these are actually two characters that I do really care about, that I actually know about, that I was passionate enough about the you know, topic, concept of it, that I made a discussion video, which I've never done before. I put myself out in front of people to say, hey, here are my opinions, stomp on them. Like, I didn't say that, but when you're on the internet, I guess, what else are you ever asking people to do but stomp on your beliefs and feelings? But yeah, so I was, you know, this is just, it's probably gonna be, yeah, one of my favorites for a long time now. I'm not gonna say my favorite. I hate picking favorites and least favorites, but one of my favorites is probably fair to say. As for the next one coming up, I don't know Ken, aside from the Ryu vs. Ken rap battle by Starbomb, which I love, and it is really fun to sing along to in my car. I even like self-censor myself sometimes, you know, and that's a challenge to do while singing along to something that swears that much or whatnot. But it's a really, and Ken is portrayed like so innocently in that, you know, little cinnamon roll. But I don't know about him like as an actual character within, you know, Street Fighter. So the only person I can imagine him going up against is not even like a named person, it's just another fighter. Like, I just imagine he's coming up or going up against some other fighter from some other fighting game. I'm sure, or at least I imagine by this point it's been revealed on one of their social media pages by now, whether they're Instagram or Twitter or something, because I feel like last time Scout was only released on Instagram. I was waiting on Twitter, but no. So you probably know, I don't, but even once it's revealed, I'm probably not gonna know or honestly care too much. Like, I'll care as much as I do normally for death battles, but I'm not gonna be passionate. Like, I can tell you that right now. So there was the death battle, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'm sorry for those of you who are disappointed, because undoubtedly a lot of you are going to be disappointed and asking probably a lot of the same questions that I did, but just not reaching a happier conclusion. Because I'm fine with the results, you know? Like, I'm surprised, but I'm happy about it. And I think a lot of it does come down to her reaction time, which I did consider, you know, but not, I didn't actually consider her reaction time with the sniper. I considered her reaction time just based upon the fact that she was one of the best fighter pilots that they had, you know, that they were able to get a hold of. Because, you know, fighter pilots, I can just imagine how much hand-eye coordination you'd have to have and the reaction times that you've had to have when flying, like controlling aircraft going at such high speeds. But the sniper bullet too is impressive. Like, that is a lot of thinking too. But yeah, so even if you did want Scout to win, and even if you still think that Scout would win, I hope that you guys at least enjoyed yourself. Like, I hope you guys at least were able to take entertainment out of this death battle. And hey, you know, death battle is not the final say. Like, it never is. If you weren't aware, the characters are always still actually, like, alive, you know, after the death battle comes out. Heck, sometimes they're even dead before the death battle comes out if the material you're watching killed off the character. But I just mean that, like, I guess don't take it so seriously, you know? Like, it's okay to be disappointed, but, like, letting it ruin your life, because, you know, some people have commented that, like, death battle has ruined their lives, and that's not, guys, that's not death battle's fault. Like, I'm not trying to blame you, but you need to, like, look at what really you're taking, like, what about it is bothering you, and look into that, you know? Maybe go talk to someone, like a professional. Like, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I just mean, like, if something like this show is bothering you that much, then you should do something about it, you know? Do something positive, do something constructive, is what I mean. Okay, now that's out of the way, and I hope that I didn't just insult everybody. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I enjoyed this death battle. I agree with it in the end, even though I am surprised. I hope that you guys enjoyed it too. If you want to go look at my discussion video, I'm not going to link it again, but yeah, I don't know. Now I'm just happy. I'm happy overall that Tracer won, and it was just a really enjoyable fight. So yes, before I ramble anymore, we're calling it here. Cue outro, go!